Welcome everyone, my name is Jeffrey St Laurent and this is the Tuesday Live Show. Each and every week I come on here and I talk about topics that help coaches transition to a full-time business. Because when you're serious about coaching and you really want to create an income from it, sometimes it can be challenging because there's so much stuff out there. And I'm not going to say that other stuff's right or wrong, etc. But what I'm going to say is my role as helping you transition to a full-time coaching business, meaning something that pays you consistently over time, is to help narrow down all that stuff so you have a focus and you understand where you're going. I do record all of my live shows and I put them on my website, sellingcoaching.com, in my university. And so I've got a great number of fantastic resources, if I can say that, that help coaches transition to a full-time business. If you want to start off right on the homepage, you can enter your name and email address. That's going to give you instant access to an audio recording of mine that's all about the first 3 vital steps to launching your full-time coaching business. So go ahead and check that out. That's also going to put you into my email community. It's allow me to send you a couple emails on a weekly basis for some great education, make you aware of some of the stuff that I'm doing as well. It's also going to allow you to start to see how I use my email to communicate with my audience, which is an important component of everything that we do with our business. So I know that as a coach, you're passionate about what you do. And I also know that there's nothing better than doing what you love, but also there's nothing better than doing what you love and getting paid for it. So we want to get coaching clients, not only to practice coaching so we get better at coaching, but also because we want to help people. You know, we've been helped through coaching and we want to help people. And one of the biggest challenges coaches have is getting clients, you know, and then we look out there and we see some people and it seems like it's so easy for them. And for others, you know, it's a struggle. And so with all the activities and all the strategies from all these gurus of telling you what to do and how to do all this stuff, you know, to get yourself paid, I wanted to kind of break it down tonight to some simple things. Did I say tonight? It's not tonight, but today. To some simple to-do actions that will get you paid. And I say will get you paid, like they have the ability to get you paid, right? There's obviously no guarantee with anything, but here's what I learned, and that this is a fact. This is a fact that if you do some of these things consistently enough over a long period of time, meaning years, and bigger than that, if you do them consistently enough over a long period of time, meaning years, and you continually actively improve upon how you do them and the skill sets needed to do them, you will absolutely unequivocally get paid. And I can guarantee that that will happen, right? So people say like, oh, no results aren't guaranteed and blah, blah, blah. And of course, that's the fact. But I can guarantee that because the things I'll share with you and the things I do with my mentor coaching clients, the things I do with myself, I know work, right? They work in different time frames for everybody because everyone comes into the game with different skill sets and different abilities and different drive to do those activities, right? Some people are more focused than others, right? There's all those things factor into it. But I want to bring you back to this as I start off with it. It doesn't matter the technique. It doesn't matter what someone says, what I'm saying, or the next guy or the next girl. That actually doesn't matter. It's just like when you pick something and you're consistent with it over time and you get better at those skill sets. And if you notice I said become actively better. You know, last night in my email that I sent to my audience, if you receive my emails, I talked about this game that I'm addicted to. All right, this is obviously relevant for the topic today. It's called Beat Saber, and it's this virtual reality headset you wear on your head, and you have these 2 controllers, etc. And it's just like it plays a song. And as the song plays, there's these square cubes that kind of come at you. And you're holding basically 2 lightsabers, think like Star Wars. And as the notes come at you, you swing at it with the proper color. You know, the left hand's red, the right hand's blue, let's say. And you swing at them and you slice through the blocks. And you do it to the beat of the music, and it's fun. It's highly addictive, and you work up a sweat, and it's cool, right? But the point is that when I started off with it, obviously I wasn't very good at it. You know, I could do it, but you can increase the difficulty of the song in terms of how many blocks come at you per second, et cetera, and with arrows and the speed of it and all that good stuff, right? And my son was beating me and my girlfriend was beating me and I wanted to get better at it, right? So I started to have to figure out, like, how can I get better at this, right? So not only did I start playing it more and practicing, so to speak, and I started to see an improvement, but I also did some research and I looked online and I watched other people that had these crazy videos that were these success gurus of this game, so to speak, right? And I started watching the tips and strategies, and then I'd go actually play it and try it. I'm like, oh, wow. And I could see the difference in my score and how it's improved over time, right? And I'm sharing that because when I say you need to actively improve, you know, it's not just here, it's in anything in life, right? We've got to actively improve. So when you do some of these simple things that I'm going to tell you about that maybe you've heard of before, you know, I don't want you to be like, oh, well, yeah, I knew that, or yeah, I knew that, or I've heard that before. Like, that's not the point. It's not like it's something new. It's taking one of those things and doing it, but actively, so researching it. So just like I did with a game, right? That's my work ethic for getting better at a game. Right, and it's no different in my business, and that's what I want to bring to you today. Is with simple to-do actions. And I'm going to give you some, right? But the point is, it doesn't matter what they are. It's just you got to pick one, but you've got to start to understand. Well, within what I'm doing with this activity, and maybe it's setting up seminars or calling people or writing a book or things like that, whatever they are, it's how am I now actively getting better at those skill sets, and what am I doing the research, and who am I? Maybe you're hiring a mentor coach like myself. Maybe you're going on my website, sellingcoaching.com, at the university and watching through some of those videos, right? So you're improving the skill set of selling, a lot of the things that I teach there, working on your structure, you know, and it's like you can look at different people and things like that, but keep it within the same strategy so you're not bouncing around everywhere, right? Coaches tend to bounce around with all these shiny objects or these different strategies, and they never really focus on one for very long at all, right? And they give it enough time and or effort for it to actually work, or for them to actually get better at something, right? So you can't, you know, metaphorically expect me to pick up the game and be great at it, right? Or play it for a week or try it 2 or 3 times and be like, oh, I suck and this isn't working, or do another week. Like, it doesn't make sense. It's like joining the gym and, you know, work out for a week and be like, oh, I'm still fat. Like, of course you are. You've been doing the wrong habits for the past 40 years and you expect a week at the gym or to fix everything. It doesn't work that way. We know that, and I know you know this, but are we applying that, right? And this is the reminder for us. I got to remind myself all the time. I've got to remind you. We've got to remind each other. We got to create an awareness of this, because we're never immune to those thoughts. So let's talk about some of these simple activities, right? And like I said, these might be things that I've said before, you've heard before. They're not like these super hack ninja strategies and these secrets, because there's no secrets. There's fundamentals to getting business, right? And I mentioned this in my last week's live show, was of the fundamentals. There's no new fundamentals like a basketball game, right? Like, there's dribbling, there's passing, and there's shooting. Like, those are the fundamentals. There's no secret new fundamentals with this. So we've got to go back to, what are the fundamentals of business that allow you to actually get business, right? And in our case, let me break down the fundamental of what we're talking about here. Is the bottom line fundamental is your exposure, of the exposure that your message has to people, right? That's, if I could break this whole business down to like a bottom line, how we get more business is exposing your message to more people. That's it. Because if I were to take you and put you in front of 1,000 people right now, and you were to speak your message, heck, 100 people, heck, 10 people, right? But any number of people, and that were to happen on a consistent basis, let's just say once a week. Now, obviously, the higher number of people might freak you out more, but regardless, if it was 100 people or 1,000 people, and that was happening every week, it wouldn't be very long, meaning a month or two, with at least with way I could help you get clients from that. As you probably would imagine, if over the next 4 weeks you spoke in front of 1,000 people each week, over the course of the month is 4,000 people. Is it fair to say that in the next several months you'd be booked solid? You'd be booked solid. Absolutely, unequivocally, yes. Even if you really didn't know what you were doing, you'd still get business from it. If you knew what you're doing, and I were to help you as an example, like I help my clients, right, when they hire me, I help them understand the sales conversation, follow up with people, and the actual conversations to help them get clients so they not only get paid, but they learn how to do it so they can start doing it themselves moving forward, right? But unequivocally, that would happen, right? So with that being said, it doesn't matter, and I will still tell you some simple activities, right? But it doesn't matter what activities you do as long as those activities are falling under the premise of the main objective of getting business, which is what? Getting your message exposed to more people. So it doesn't matter if the activity is you going to a networking event, a simple Chamber of Commerce networking event, and you talk to one person at that event on the side, before or afterwards, and you understand what they do and you talk to them a little about what you do, right? As long as you've broken the threshold of them understanding a little bit more about not just what you do, but what you're looking for. Now, of course, you have to know what you're looking for. And I'll say what you're looking for is the bottom line message is you want to speak your message in front of more people. How can you help me do that? Who do you know? What help or advice or thoughts do you have in order for me to get my message in front of more people? Here's my message. Here's what I talk about. Who do you know that might be open to setting up a speaking engagement, having me come in talking to these people? You know what I mean? Have a one-on-one conversation so they can learn a little bit more about what I do and how I can help. Any of those conversations, these are the simple activities, right? But they all fall under the premise of getting my message in front of more people. So it doesn't matter if it's a simple networking event where you talk to one or many people. It doesn't matter if it's a trade show that you sign up and go to. It doesn't matter if it's, I'm talking about face-to-face stuff right now. It doesn't matter if you're, getting in front of some people, or setting up an event for yourself where you're inviting people to, or going to a group of people who are already getting together and saying, hey, listen, you know what, I'm wondering if you guys would be open to having me come in and talk to, your group next week, next month, at lunchtime, before or after work, before or after your meetings, right? That's an activity that's getting you potentially in front of more people. I'm wondering if you know anybody that would be open to having me come in and speak to their group around, these topics, right? Those are our simple activities that are allowing us to potentially get in front of more people, right? And then online, it's the same thing, but just a different spin on that, right? So it's how we actually putting our message out there. Am I doing something like this? Like I'm doing a live show right now, right? My message is getting in front of people. Ultimately, it's going to go over to YouTube. It's going to go over to my website. I'm going to send an email about it. I'm going to post it on different social media outlets, right? That's me speaking my message and getting it out in front of more people. And then more importantly, it's seeing any reactions or follow-up from that. You might, watching this now, you might be like, hey, Jeff, great job. Loved what you're talking about. And I might, maybe I don't know you and say, hey, great, it's nice to see you. Like, tell me a little bit more about your coaching business. And I want to connect with you and engage in a conversation. And I don't know where that's going to lead to, but either way, I'm making a connection, and that's what we need to do. And so maybe it's getting into different groups. It's online forums. Maybe it's a Facebook group. Maybe it's another social media platform where there's groups of people that your target audience or your ideal client are gathered, where you're posting in that group, you're sharing some of your stories, you're interacting with some of those people, right? You're making some approaches once you learn more about what their needs are, approaches where you ask if they'd ever consider taking a closer look at how you could help them if they were to hire you based on what you heard them talking about or what they want to work on. Or if, I see that you got this event coming up, I'm wondering, have you ever considered having a speaker at that event? I talk around these topics. I'm wondering if you're open to having a conversation about what that might look like. But you see all these activities, and these are things that are going to directly lead to your message, meaning from you, being exposed to more people. And that's it. And you know what? The realities of this is it's frustrating. It can be slow, much slower than you want, hope, anticipate, or would expect. That's the reality of it. Sometimes you might try something. Like I got clients that hire me, and then we do some things, and then they get out there, and like, next thing you know, they're like, oh my God, I got my first client. Like, and it just clicks. And that's great. And then other people might do it for months and before something happens or they get their first client, right? But it's the reality of we've got to be patient with it. We've got to be consistent with it. And also we got to start to recognize, going back to my earlier statement of when we start doing some of these things, recognizing that not only we need to do it consistently, we also need to give it consistency over time, meaning years. Right? I'm pulling back the same stuff I talked about, but now in the framework of giving it some grounding here. But also, as you would imagine, I need to get better at how I'm doing these things and improving the skill sets. So just like that game Beat Saber I talked about, and not only was I just practicing, but what if I'm practicing the wrong way? What if my technique is off? What if I think I should be doing it this way when in reality there's a better way I could be doing it, which in fact was the case. Doesn't mean that I'm doing it wrong. The fact that I'm doing it is good, right? The fact that you're going out to a networking event doesn't mean that that's wrong. That's a good thing. But it just means that what if their technique of getting out at the networking event, what if there was a better way of doing it? And so that's where I started to look at these tips and like, oh, I need to use my wrist more. Oh, I need to swing through a greater range of motion. Oh, I need to turn my hips more versus just try and move my arms because I can't get to the notes quick enough in the game, right? And so and then I start practicing and applying that stuff and then I get better at it and then I start to see the results, right? So same thing here is so now as you're doing some of the things that I just talked about, now it's starting to recognize that as I'm starting to do those, maybe you get some results, maybe you don't. But that doesn't mean we just, oh, well, it's not working, or I quit, or I stop, and I look to something else. It just means that, okay, well, when I go out to these networking events, or when I ask for some of these things that I'm asking for, how am I asking? What am I saying? And that's where you're going to need other people, right? How can you know? Like, you can't blame yourself for not knowing. That's why I do what I do as a mentor coach. And this isn't like, oh, you have to hire me to do this. Like, yeah, that's definitely is hopefully a consideration when the timing's right or you find that. But what I'm saying is you need some guidance, whether it's with me or somebody else, is you've got to ask for that stuff. I didn't learn this stuff just by trial and error and failure. Yes, some of it I did. But I can trial and error and fail and still not know what to do and keep doing the same thing over and over again, right? The definition of insanity, right? So I had to hire mentors. I had to talk to people. I had to read books. I had to take courses, from people that I trusted and saw, and I wanted to model maybe some of their results. And I learned some things and I expanded myself. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing right now, is hopefully giving you enough where it can kind of set you off. But maybe you need more than that. And if you need more than that, that's where you can hire someone like myself. Go to my website, sellingcoaching.com, fill out the form at the bottom of the Work With Me page, and let's have a relaxed conversation and see where we can go from there. Don't be ashamed that you need some help. Like, just know that this is business. And if you're going to succeed in business, don't try and reinvent it all, right? So use some of this stuff, start to work through of it, and hopefully the tips and strategies I've given you today, while very straightforward and simple, I wanted to kind of really, the more of the main message wasn't like just, do X, Y, and Z. It's just more of, it's the philosophy behind doing X, Y, and Z. It's the underpinnings of it all that make the actual activities begin to work.